It feels so good to be giving this talk to something besides my shower or my steering wheel, because those are two socially acceptable places to talk to yourself. I'm really honored to be here. In my adult life, I've been a teacher, I've been a coach, I've been a rescue volunteer, a volunteer coordinator, all at once. And it's not so much of being in a position of instructing always as it is to be in a position of motivation. And this is Mary. Mary was a student athlete at the University of Northern Colorado. I was coaching there. And one of the fun parts about motivating is getting to give these pep talks, right? Like Vince Lombardi's What It Takes to Be #1 speech. And one day we were at a competition and Mary was looking pretty timid, and I called her over and I was like, "Mary, what are you afraid of?" And she looks me right in the eyes and said, "Wasps." And so fortunately, there's more than one way to motivate people. It can be something so simple as showing up with a good attitude, but it can also be instructing. And so if our goal here today is a life worth living, the conference theme, or a living an awesome life, I'd probably start with instructing you so that you feel empowered to reach your goal on what awesome is. And so I asked my students to give me a list of things that they thought were awesome. And mind you, they're 15 years old, but here's some of the things they came up with. Family, my sister and my niece. Love, this is my grandparents. Mountains, the outdoors. Sports, doing your best, tears of joy. They also gave me bacon, more than once. And so as you're thinking about the list of things that you would think are awesome, you might not be so unsimilar to my 15-year-old students, which is a little scary, but we don't need to talk about everything that we think is awesome, but we should take a second to talk about what awesome is not. Awesome is not easy. And unfortunately, I think it gets marketed this way. You see a lot of pictures of this, you know, like climbing the Dreamweaver route up in Rocky Mountain National Park. But you don't see that, which is getting hit by rockfall when you're up there. Where's my prefrontal cortex on that one? You know, you'll see pictures like this, skiing, having a good time, but you oftentimes don't see what your knee looks like right after knee surgery. Or really any of the other times that your quest for awesome might come up just a little bit short. And so now that we know what awesome is and is not, I would probably go through and tell you that it's not supposed to be easy, okay? I challenge you to think of one thing that means more to you that came easy to you than something that you had to work really hard for. And if our self-worth is based on what we think about how well we are at what we do, it can be safe to say that our self-worth is directly proportional to our self-work, right? And so I go through and I'd probably start to coach you, since I'm coaching you on living an awesome life, on the fundamentals, right? You'll hear coaches talk about stick to the fundamentals, stick to the fundamentals, stick to the fundamentals, right? I had a high school coach that said, keep it simple, stupid. But the fundamentals, we coach the fundamentals so that we can put it into our muscle memory. And if you're not familiar with muscle memory, this is my brother. If you're not familiar with muscle memory, it's kind of like riding a bike. You remember when your parents had a hold of the seat and you're like, don't let go of the seat, you know? But you would never have learned to ride a bike if you didn't let go of if they didn't let go of the seat. And you have to think through every single process of trying to learn to ride a bike. But now we use terms like, oh, it's just like riding a bike, right? So a muscle memory is something that we can put the fundamentals into our muscles, or into our memory, and we don't have to think about it. We can just do, like Yoda says, do or do not, there is no try. So that as the task gets harder, we don't have to think about it too much. We can just react. And so the fundamentals that I have for you of awesome would be to first coach you to join a community. And a community can mean several different things. It can be a group of people that are dedicated to a certain goal. like search and rescue, so that others may live. It can be a group of your peers that enjoy the same things as you, like my homies from SheJumps. It can be physically the people that surround you. This is where I grew up. And I have a story about community. My brother, right after he graduated college, got really sick. He had a bacterial infection on his mitral valve in his heart and ended up having to have open heart surgery. It's really hard to do this when you're laying in a hospital bed. But our community got together, and when he got home, all of his field work was done. A community is what sustains you, right? Because we know, based on those other pictures that I showed you, that sometimes your quest for awesome comes up a little short, right? So this is the first fundamental. And so the second fundamental I would be, and Brian, thank you, has taken care of this for me, it would be to take risks, right? I promise I didn't pay him to give that speech, but now we can just move on. Taking risks. What do I say after all of his speech? No, my sister had this poster growing up that I stole, because that's where you get all of your best stuff, is from your siblings. And if you don't believe me, you can ask my little sister. She has all the best stuff that I ever had. It said, we take these risks not to escape life, but to prevent life from escaping us. Yeah, I know, it's a poster. But it's been a resounding theme in my life, and you might like this one. Life begins at the end of your comfort zone, right? I swear I didn't pay him. But I challenge you to think about when is the last time that you did something for the first time, okay? And think about where your senses were when you were there. You could probably remember the song that was playing, the sound that was, the smell of wherever you were at. You were so acutely aware of your surroundings when you were doing something for the first time, right? And so if setting a goal is planting the seed of awesome, and joining a community is nurturing that awesome, and taking a risk is harvesting it, you're going to have more than what you need, right? And so the last fundamental that I'm going to coach you on is to share. And we talk a little bit about charity. You know, it's a really good thing, but money is very fleeting. Okay, it doesn't stick around very long. But sharing is something that lasts a lifetime. I don't think it's so much about charity, but charity, right? Think about the one thing that you were super, super passionate about, what you love to do more than anything else, right? Who shared that with you? Someone shared their passion with you, and it became your own. A really good example that I have of this is grandparents, because my grandparents shared like every passion that they had with me. And what is life if it's not a relentless pursuit of your passions, right? And it can be sharing with the future generations. It can be sharing with your coworkers. It doesn't take much. It just takes effort, right? So that would be the last fundamental that I'd have for you. But there's more ways to motivate people than just to inform them, right? So now that you've been informed on what awesome is and is not, and we talked about the fundamentals, I could also tell you that I need to change the way that you think about something that you think that you already know. So we know awesome is an adjective. It means to describe. So it might be describing your actions. But what if we were to think about it as the action itself? So change that, the fact that awesome was an adjective to now it's a verb. Think for a second of what it might be to practice awesome, right? So that when it gets harder, you've had those fundamentals in your muscle memory. You don't have to think about it. You can just react in an awesome way, right? And so why is this important? Well, we have this whole big generation of people that act a lot like us and look a lot like us, and they're following our footsteps. And I truly, truly believe that this world is a wonderful place to live. And I want to make sure that we perpetuate that for our future generations, because we know that from before that it's going to be hard, but the harder that it is, the more that we need to care about it. So What is it going to be like to practice your awesome? It doesn't have to be so much as climbing mountains or hiking cliffs on skis. It can be something so much as like picking up trash off the floor or saying thank you or being patient, right? So get after it.